Get started. So I am here to talk about a bit about how to build console applications, mainly with the console component standalone. Also, I will talk about how can you use it with your Symfony application as well. About me, I will be very quick. I am a senior software engineer at Guest-Centric Systems. Also, I am co-founder and organizer of PHPLX. The most important thing that I have, I am a co-founder of my child, my beautiful boy, so for me it should be the first one, but okay. I also have some certifications. You can find me on web with Designer, GitHub, Twitter, LinkedIn. Also, I would like to ask you for give some feedback and rating all the talks, not only mine, but every talks that you have been watching in these 2 days. So, before starting, let's ask you some questions. How many of you use the console component? Whoa. It's quite an introduction to it, basically. You will see everything from scratch. And how many of you use it as a standalone, not with your Symfony application? Yeah, that's lower people, a few people only. So basically, you know that it is easy to create console applications. So probably for you it is. If you are using the console application, you know that is not that hard. But most of people say that I am nuts. It's not that easy to create a console application. Basically, when you are starting with not with the Symfony way. So, but when I show this to the people, it's quite simple. You just need to use a composer, create a new application, and run. You are set to go. And you have already 2 commands in the application. Basically, you have the list and the help command. So people say, oh, that is cool. But it all started because I had a problem when I started building console applications. I need some cron job, daemon, or whatever to dump a database, to do anything specific. But I need something useful to run the backgrounds, interactive setup tools, everything. But I got what? I got a lot of several script files written in different language, because sometimes I need something specific, probably is better with Python, some Bach. But I had no documentation, and it's not user-friendly for the user. You maybe have that experience, right? And you end up with looking for scripts with a year ago, 2 years ago, and what the hell does it do? Or what do I did before? And you don't have any organization or documentation on your console components, or sorry, on your commands and your scripts. So I had an idea. That was, why not centralize everything in one place only, with good documentation, with tests, because usually you don't test Bash scripts or other things, probably, and basically make it user-friendly for other people use them, because you are on the company, but 1 year from now, you are change the company, and the people that will be there will be appreciate to you if you did your job well and give them some good documentation. So that's when I met Symfony console component, and it was a life change. I'm kidding, yeah, but it was very nice. Basically, the console component has 0 dependencies. You can install it via Composer, just put it on your JSON, your composer.json, and you are set to go. Gives you a lot of classes. It comes with an application with comments, inputs, outputs, helpers, events, and formatters. So it's quite a long, useful classes that you can use without have to worry about that. So let's get started what real matters for this talk. So first, how do we create our application? You already saw that, basically. Create the new application and run it, and you are set to go, right? So, application is simple. You can have some specifications, but if you are building something standalone, it's the only thing you need for starting your application, to bootstrap it. So, but how does it work? Basically, I see standalone console applications like this. You have the application, and it's like plug and play. You plug another comment, and you are ready to go. If you want another comment, just plug in another comment to the application, and you are fine. It's not that hard. So basically, this will be more about the comments, because the application is quite easy. And if you are using the Symfony framework, you will auto-load all the comments that you have inside the comment folder on your bundles. So if you put here comments with the extend the comment class, you don't need to do anything more. Just put the comments there in the bundles that you want. So it's quite easy. Also, you should think about this when you are developing your comments. When you are working with the console, you need to think in your comment as your controller. And probably when you have a lot of logic inside of your comment, probably you want to split it in other comments and make this like an action in your controller, something like that, depending on your use case. Also, the request in the console is your input, and you always should validate it. And the output on the console is the response on the web. This is basically, it's not the same, of course, but in terms of comparing console and web, it's similar. So, and how do I add the comments to the application? It's simple. You just do the same stuff. The only thing you need to do is add and put the comments that you want. That's why I say that it's like plug and play. You want a new comment, just add a new comment. It's easy. So let's see how do you create the comment. Comment, when you extend it, there are three methods that you will use more than the other ones that you extend. Basically, the first is the configure, execute, and interact. Let's see them. So, to explain you how the workflow works, basically, it's simple. You have the configure part here, and what we will do is, if you have if there is interaction on the comment, or if you don't, or if you type -- no -- interaction, you will be directly to execute the content of the comment. Otherwise, you will see if you have anything inside of the interact method, and we'll execute it. Only then we'll execute the command, the logic, okay? It's quite simple. So how do we configure the command, set up it? So basically, it's simple like that. You can just start with the name and the description, but it doesn't do anything at this point. Basically, there is some parts that you should know that the yellow part, it's the namespace of the command. You can create namespaces, or you can just not type this with the colon. I think it's colon, sorry. And the right part is the name. You can have sub namespaces. You just need to add more columns, and you are ready to go. The description is a description. Basically, it appears here down. You can see the description, and you can see the hello. That is my namespace. So if you are using the console, you are used to it. So basically, what do we need here is arguments and options to make some interaction with the user. So arguments are ordered. You need to always follow the order of the arguments, and can have three types of the input: optional, require, and array. You can combine the input type with optional and array, and require and array, okay? If you are using the type array, it needs to be the last argument you use, okay? Because it will use the spaces to grab the input. Options is quite the same. The difference is unordered, and you have another type that is known that doesn't have an input. Basically, is a true or false. Let's see how do you set up the arguments and the options. In the configure, you just add argument, put the name, the type. There is other parameters, like the default value and stuff like that. The option, you have Besides the other parameters, you can make a short name for the parameter. You need to be careful with other comments to not conflict. The other options, sorry. So you have a description, you have arguments, you have options, but there is a part that users need. When you are developing the comments, you should think not only on you, because you know what you are doing, but you should think about other people that probably you are going to use your application tomorrow, now, or in a year. So provide a good usage manual for them, a good helper, for them to understand what the command will do, with the options, with the arguments, everything they need to know. You define these on the configure method, just set up and throw everything you need to put. Don't be afraid to write 10, 20 lines of code with documentation. It's good. You can see here when you do the hello world help, and then we'll show you everything. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay, I remember this. So basically, is the usage here. You can see that you can use -u or -- uppercase name, the option that you defined. You have the argument, our options. You can see the first one is the one you defined, and then is our help. Usually the help one is larger. Sorry, my English. So now let's add something that for the command to do, the logic. Where do you put the logic? And the logic goes in the execute method. Basically, you go to the input, get your inputs, get your arguments, your options, and do wherever you want with it, and you can output wherever you want. So basically, this is quite simple as well. It implements the input interface and the output interface. So it's simple. And there is an example. All this code is on a repo that I will put on in a few slides before I end it. Everything is on a GitHub repository. You can play with it and see everything, okay? So basically, this is simple. I am putting the argument. Did you see that is not uppercased? Because I didn't use the dash uppercase, so quite simple. But there is some use cases that you start having a lot of logic inside of your comments. And you sometimes see that it's quite complex, and you want to make it more simple, and probably some of the logic you can replace with another command, and you can use the command in other places or isolate it. So for that, you can also create a new command, and then call this command inside of another command. So let's see, how do you do that? Basically, you grab your application and find for the command that you want. You need to set the arguments for that command in order to run it, and then run that command. And you can call whatever command you want inside another command. And that way, you are splitting your logic, your complexity, and it's easier for testing, it's easier for developing, and makes your life easier. This is an example. It's a simple one, of course, but does the same that the other one, but basically just to show you how simple it is to call another command inside a command. So, if you are working on the web, you never trust any input, right? So in console applications, it's the same. You never should trust any input. So always validate the input. Even if he's arguing that you are putting the input there. But anyone make mistakes sometimes, it's normal. If you don't make mistakes, probably are not in the right job. So validating is quite simple. Usually, I do it on the execute, or if there is a lot of validations, I create some methods and call the methods to make the validations. We are talking about standalone console applications, okay? probably if you use the Symfony framework, you are going to call a form if you have a form and validate with the form. It's more complex, but it's possible. With dependency injection, it's quite easy. So basically, I grab the argument and make some, in this case, I'm just seeing if the name has some number. If it has a number, throw an exception saying that the name is not valid. So it's quite simple. So 1 is not a name for sure, so please change the name. It's wrong. So you should be doing validations always, okay? Now the best part, because, okay, you can create comments to run like daemons, and daemons don't need user interaction. But probably you want to have comments to set up things, set up databases, set up whatever you want, and you will need the user interaction for it. So the console component provides you 4 helpers. The dialog one is basically the one that accepts inputs from the user, the formatter, progress, and table. So let's see them. Dialog helper. Dialog helper provides you 6 methods. Basically, some are almost equal. The difference that there are some validations. You have the select one. This one is very cool because you can pass an array and it will put a list to you with every entry on the array with the number, and you don't need to do anything to output it. It will do that for you and put validations on that. So it's quite cool. The ask is a normal question, an open one. Ask and confirm is a true or false question. Ask hidden response is basically when you need to the user to type passwords and stuff like that. Ask and validate, you can pass a function for validating the input. And the last one is the same for hidden response. So let's see an example of the select. It's very useful. I really love it. So basically, you set up the array on the first line. You get the dialog on the second one. You pass the output to the select, pass the question, and pass the array on the third argument. And then you just output your output for the user. So let's see how it happens. So I made some mistakes just for you guys to see that there is validations. So basically, I have my question. I didn't do anything about this. It's all about console component does this magic. I love this magic. Then I try to put no number, and you see that empty is invalid. 10 does not exist, so it's invalid as well. And when I select the first one, okay, you have your color is red. So it's very useful when you have complex things and you don't have to do this kind of output and validations. It does it for you out of the box. So let's see ask and validate. Because you need always to validate your input. Probably the easier way is to do the ask and validate, depending on your goals, of course. So it's quite the same. You pass the output, insert put the question, and the third one is the function that will validate the input. Basically, it's quite simple. I am only seeing if it's empty or not. If it's empty, let's throw an error. If not, let's throw the name, and it's done. Of course, this is quite simple. It's not useful, but it's just for you to see how it works. And here is the same thing. If it's empty, it tells me that it's empty. It cannot be empty. Otherwise, you need to put some input, valid input, in order to go ahead. So, quite simple. Format helper. Format helper is what gives you the possibility to customize the colors and how the output will appear to the user. So basically, there are two kinds of helpers, the format block and the format section. Let's see the format section. Basically, for starting, you get the get helper set and get the formatter. And then you can define whatever you want. Here you are defining the format section. Basically, the format section allows you to have a section whatever you want. In this case, I have my section, but you can have for instance, database and every output of the database, and you can have logger and every output of the logger. You can split them by sections. It's quite easy. And the second argument is the message that you want, and you just output it, and it's done. Let's see the format block. Format block accepts an array as the message for the output. If you have more than one entry in this array, it will break the line for you without you have to do anything. So if you have 5 entries, you have 5 lines with that message, okay? And also, you can see here that you are passing an error. This is the format that there are some default formats that you can pass. Error, info, there are 2 more, but I don't remember right now, but is on the documentation. You can find it very easy. And you can also customize your colors. That's what I am doing here. Basically, it's almost the same. The difference is you can define the BG equal to blue or red, wherever you want, and the foreground color for white or whatever you want. It's quite simple, and you can mix with it, and you can also create some profiles for names. So I will not cover this in this talk, but it's on documentation. It's quite easy to create some profiles. There is my example. You can see here the output, how does it like, and the error one and my custom one. So it's quite simple. It's quite useful because you can create your own output and make it beautiful for your users. Progress helper. This one is cool, and it can be very helpful. For instance, if you are doing a migration of a database or something like that, and you want to tell the user what is the current status of the process. Otherwise, you will be just waiting in front of the computer and trying to see if the command is working or not. It does not know, and that way you can just show them that it's going forward and you are going okay. So it's quite simple to use. Basically, you get the get helper set, get the progress. You put the start. The start you put first is the output, and then is the number of steps. I create here for the example a while. Of course, you can create for imagine that you are migrating tables. Can be a table, and you can iterate on the tables and put a progress advance every time you are iterating it, and then just progress finish, and you have this output. That is quite nice, and the user can see that the things are working as expected, and you will not just kill the process because it does not know how long it takes or if it's died or whatever. Table helper. It's very useful as well. Also, imagine that you are migrating a database and you can show the user how the new database looks and how the older database looks. You can use it. It's quite simple. You just need to pass an array with the headers, and you can then you set the rows with an array as well. So basically, you can iterate the database and do it quite easy. I am using an example for colors and the hexadecimal value, but just for you to see the output. And it does it for you out of the box. There are 2 more types of customization to customize the output, and one of them is new for 2.4, I guess. I don't remember well, but so far, all the examples is as no real world use case, right? Let's see something that I built for dumping a database. It's quite simple. Basically, I first interact with the user. I am a validation for it. It's just validating if the field is empty or not, the input. Then I will ask him the host. Let me see. Okay. I have this. I don't remember. Okay. I am getting the dialog, and then I am asking the user the host, the username, the password, and what are the databases that you want to dump from that server. And what I am doing here, I have a private method that will just make the comment for MySQL dump. Basically, you just go to get the inputs, validate the inputs, and just build the comment, basically. And I am creating a new process from the process component, and I am going to run it. And it's quite simple. What I am doing here then is just see if the process was successful or not. If not, let's do an exception with the error. And this is quite easy. You can create whatever comments you want for doing whatever you want. Because you can create process, you can MySQL dump, whatever you need. You can make more process, so it's quite easy. You let your imagine flies and do whatever you need. But that way, you can always have everything in one place instead of having different scripts in different language. So this is quite cool. And let's see the example. So this is my example, basically. I am setting the host cannot be empty, so I put something, put the username, the password cannot be empty as well. I put the password, oh, there is an error here, and I put the databases. Events. So now that you see almost everything about the command and how can you configure the command and use it, let's see what events that you can catch. But basically, these events will be catch probably with Symfony framework or other stuff, or you can catch them as well on your console application. So when you are waiting for events, you basically have 3 events defined on the console application. That is command, that will throw before the command starts. Exception, that will thrown when the exception starts, of course, and the terminate that will be thrown before it returns the exit code. Also, the terminate will be thrown after the exception, because when you have an exception, you will return the exit code, okay? If you want to add more events, you can just extend the application and add the events that you want and that you need, so it's quite easy. For that, if you are doing it standalone, you will need to require the event dispatcher component, okay? Testing. How many of you do tests on your commands? Oh, a few. Not bad. You should do that. They are quite easy. So when you are doing your tests in your commands, you should think about that as functional tests. Unity test is more for models and stuff that is isolated. Basically, the commands have some dependencies. So let's see. The console component provides you the command tester, basically ends the output of the command and simulates the console when you are testing it. This is the command tester. There is some methods. You are using a lot, probably get display to make some assertions, so it's quite simple. Let's see how it works. So let's see an example. How do I test the name output of my command? So basically, I create my command, I instantiate my command, then I create the new command tester and pass my command, okay? And when I'm going to execute, I need to pass also the command, the name of the name that is my argument, and if I am using options, I can put the options or not, okay? And then just make an assertion to see if the regular expression is okay or not. It's quite simple. So the problem here when you are testing the commands, if you have a lot of complexity, it will be hard to test the commands. And when you feel that it's hard to test your commands, probably you need to separate some logic or create another command, or probably you are doing something wrong in your design. Tests are good for that. When you see that it's complex, probably you need to change something, and that is good. And that is the result. Quite simple. So, now that you see how to test it, you need something more useful for my comments, right? I want to use some external libraries, I want to use my bundles or whatever I want, so I need dependency injection because I don't want to rewrite everything else and have duplicate code in my I don't have duplicate code, don't want. So for that you need a container, right? So basically the container is set on the application and you have a get and a setter on the comments because you don't want always to get the application, so it's quite duplicating code. You want to make it more simple, and you have your service, and your service are in your container, of course. So the structure is quite simple. Also, I extend also the container-aware interface. I implement interface. So because if you want to use the dependency injection, I usually use the dependency injection component from Symfony. Of course, you can use another one, but you will have more work. So the container interface is quite simple. Just have the set container that requires the container interface. And also, I implement it when extending my command. Also, it's quite simple. And you to get it, just do like this. Okay. In this case, it's set on the command, but I don't usually do that. I usually do that on the application because I want the container in the application itself. For the Symfony framework, you have this task more easily because instead of you extend the command, you can oh, sorry, there is an error on my slides. Oh, no, it's okay. Sorry. This is the abstract class, the container-aware command, that extends the command and implements the container-aware interface that you saw before. So basically, he adds another method to get the container that basically will get the application, will get the kernel, and then gets the container from the kernel. It's quite simple. And when you are creating your commands on the Symfony, or you can also have this, but this abstract class is only in the Symfony framework, not in the dependency injection component. So if you use Symfony framework, instead of extending the command, you can extend this class, and you have this done by default. It's more easier for you to work with it. So let's see an example of logging stuff. It's the same command, or at least very near. So basically, I am getting my logger. I am executing my command, and if the exit code is okay, I will just log that the database was successful dumped. Otherwise, I will add an error on my logs because probably you want to add some logs. You want to add some entries in your logs when executing the commands, right? It's quite important for you to understand if the command was good or not, depending on your objective, of course. There is catching signals. How many of you have catch signals with commands? Any experience? Only one, two, okay. This can be quite tricky, but basically, catching signals there are only two that you cannot catch, that is seek stop and seek kill, cannot be catched, okay? And there are only one that you can catch by triggering a shortcut, that is the Control-C and this SIGINT. If you do Control-C, the SIGINT will be thrown and you can catch this signal. Also, the tick can be very messy. You need to be very careful with the tick because the scope, and also you need to find what is the best value for the tick. I will not explain what is the tick here, but if you want to know more about it, I can give you some information. But tick can be quite tricky, so take care with it. You define it in your comments, or you can just create a base comment to give you some help on that. Also, if you want more information, you should read this book from Carl Evans. It's quite good. It's not that it's cheap, and it's quite good for signaling, catch signals, and stuff like that. Let's see an example. So basically, I define my tick here on the first line. Then you need to make the pass a function for when the signal is triggered, and do whatever you want with that function. So basically, what I am doing is I am writing dots, and when I press Control C, it will be just kill the script, and you can see the function here that basically will be echo, count the signal, what is the number of the signal, and puts the flag false. So it's quite simple. And you can use that for, imagine that you are migrating something, and for mistake, you press Control C, and you've broke the database because the migration is on the middle. And if you catch that signal, you can make sure that before the script exits, you can make something to not broke anything. So you can catch a lot of signals to make sure that before the script dies, you do something to prevent that something bad will happen, okay? Because that kind of stuff can happen. Here is the function that I passed when the signal is triggered. Also, you need to be aware of when the signal is triggered, you need to define again the function that will be listening when the signal is triggered. So if it's triggered once, you need to put again PCNTL, this part here. You need to do this again, okay? So it can be quite tricky, this kind of stuff, but can be quite useful when you are doing long running process, and daemons can be very useful for not broke anything, or make sure that or imagine that something is broken or the script is dying, at least you want to log that something happened at that time for you to know. So there is a lot of use cases that you can use. So basically, I am done. There is some resources that I have put here for you if you want to read later about a lot of things. There is a Silex, I think there is Silex and Silex, I don't know if I'm spelling it well. Basically, it's like Silex, but for the console. And I didn't try it yet, but it looks quite cool. So there is more information that you can read. Also, in the first link, there is the repo for all the code that you can play with it, okay? Also, I am proud to announce you here that I am from Portugal, and we are starting to organize a PHP Conf there. So we'll be probably next September, October 2014. And if you guys want to drink good wine, have food, good weather, you should go to Portugal, visit us. So, sorry for the spamming. So, questions? Yes?
Hello, I have one problem. We have a daemon command which is running all the time while true, and can you give a suggestion how to test it? It's basically sending emails.
But what is the problem?
I don't know how to test it because it's running all the time. It's not stopping.
The question is, he has a long running process that is running for like a daemon, and sometimes you don't know how to test it, or it breaks in well, yeah, it's quite hard. I never tried that as well, but probably can think in some kind of solution and then tell you what I think is the best, but it's a long running process, otherwise you have a long running test. I don't know. Or probably you can try to just send some signals to kill the process, and that way you can test the thing. Because basically, for the script to die, there is some signal that will be thrown to be died. So you can, with the signal catch, probably you can test it if someone pressed the Control C, or if there is any kind of signal that you can catch just to do it. Probably catching signals could be a good way to test it. More questions? Yes?
What is the best way to give back the exit codes?
The question is, what is the best practice to get the exit codes, right? but you want to provide the exit code from your command or from other process that you are running. Well, you return the exit codes. You need to see what are the defaults one, and usually 0 is that when everything is okay. But you should but probably make some documentation on the exit codes would be the best. If it's your command and you want to output the right exit code from your command, I would do that. Some good documentation on that, and define the output as a constant, for instance, in the command or in the base command or some on the application, depending on your use case. Yeah.
To the table report. Yeah, what will happen if you have 2 lines in one cell? The second one are going down also, or table is broken?
The question is in the table helper if he has 2 columns,
2 columns, yeah.
and then just
2 lines.
you need always to pass the right array with the same amount of columns. At least you pass a null. You put null or empty, but otherwise it will be broken. Yeah, it will give you an error if I'm sure, if I'm right. I don't remember well, but probably will give you an error because you need to make sure that the columns have the same the arrays have the same number of the columns. That the others that you said,
Yeah,
the rows.
I'm talking about count of columns.
No, you are talking about the others, right? You have 2.
Value in a cell.
Yes.
In one cell is one line and the second one line under it, And
Oh.
the other cells.
I never tried that one, but it's easy to try. Basically, if that happens, I don't know. I need to see. Just checking out, but probably making the screen bigger can work. More questions? No? So, thank you. Don't forget to give some feedback and rate the talk. Would be very appreciated to improve it. So, thank you for being here, and I hope you're enjoying these 2 days in SymfonyCon, and see you next year. Thank you.